Hello, Ben here, and welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast. How are we all doing? My guest this week is the actor James Mackenzie. James is best known for starring as the title role in the multi-BAFTA award-winning CBBC series Raven. The hit series ran for 15 seasons, gaining cult status worldwide. James has also been introduced to a whole new generation of fans in the smash hit CBBC series Molly and Mack, and can be seen in CBeebies' Beauty and the Beast on iPlayer. Theatre credits include rights for the National Theatre of Scotland and the Proclaimers musical Sunshine on Leith with Billy Boyd. On TV, James played Gary Trenton in the BBC Scotland soap River City and appeared as Caleb in Season 4 of Outlander. James and I discuss how quality children's TV is vital for young viewers and their families, and the lasting impact of Raven on James and its fans. Plus, balancing an acting career with parenting and the importance of kindness.
As a human being, my parents always taught me that kindness costs nothing and politeness is easy. And I've always found in life that it actually genuinely takes less energy and is easier to be kind and nice to people than it's to be difficult and nasty. And surely if we're all kinder and nicer to people, everyone's lives are going to be easier.
This year, James will be starring at the Anvil Theatre in Basingstoke, reprising his role as Ebenezer in Aladdin. He's a great bad guy and an even better good guy. Let the challenge begin. Welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast, James Mackenzie. Good morning, James. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great, and that's as always, as an avid listener of your podcast, that is a lovely introduction. It's great. It's great.
Well, your career is great, and so is the beard. Complete beard envy, I tell you. Look at that. It's resplendent.
This is where I unhook it from my ears and it's all fake.
Well, I did the same with my nose and glasses. James, it's so great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me for a morning coffee in Benjy's Cafe. How's your morning been? I guess as a dad of two, it's pretty bonkers, isn't it?
Do you know what? It's been just one of those kind of crazy mornings, you know. My son is off school today. He's got the lurgy, so it's just juggling. But the little one had to go to nursery, and you know the sun's shining, Ben. So washing's got to go out in the line. Breakfast's got to be made for children. Dogs have got to be peed and pooed. You know, quick helping out with my wife for the self-tape for a job. You know, just juggle, 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 juggle.
I'm not sure it's a middle-aged thing, James, but there does seem a lot of juggling for chaps our age, doesn't there? But once all the juggling is done, you mentioned your lovely little your doggy there. Is that a lovely go-to for you to get the day off to a good start?
Totally. I've discovered the older I get, my happy place is being outside, whether it's a quick walk with the dogs or going out with the kids and the dogs, or if time and life allows, my wife and I might, if the kids are at school and we're not working, maybe we'll squeeze in an hour and take the dogs for a nice long walk somewhere in the woods or, you know, up the hills or something. And yeah, just being outside is definitely, now that I'm in my, it was my birthday last week, so I'm in the latter part of my 40s, definitely. And yeah, that's definitely something I've discovered as I've gotten older, that just, happy place outside.
Yeah, I had my hour's walk this morning, and it used to be an hour, half an hour's plod, but my knees are shot, unfortunately. But just an hour's walk, and you know, luckily my Monday blues just aren't a thing since I said cheerio to the booze, James. But even this morning, I was a little bit apprehensive about the week ahead, just a few things I've got to sort, and you know, likewise, a bit of juggling here and there to make sure life's as smooth as possible. But yeah, just that walk, just an hour with either a bit of music or just that fresh air. I think it's so important.
I think especially in middle age. I think also as if one is lucky enough to be a parent, and also being a freelancer, you know, as you know. We've had the absolute delight. Well, I've had the absolute delight of working with you. But like it's I mean, you might not say the same. But it is. Life is. I think life for anyone is a juggle, but I think it's particularly a difficult juggle with at least 6 or 7, maybe 10 balls, rather than just the standard 3. I think it is much more of a juggle when you're a freelancer, and you know. My wife is an actor as well, so we've 2 freelancers, 2 kids, 2 dogs. It's just a constant juggle. But, you know, you wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years now, and I've not been found out yet, and I haven't had to get a real job, so
Well, I think it's hugely commendable. I mean, my goodness, we worked together in Panto at the Palace in Mansfield, James. Christmas just gone. Firstly, just such a joy to meet you there and to work with you. You're so professional, like a superb leading man, James, and you just brought a lovely calmness to the whole experience. Like, did you realise that? It
Oh,
really
that's
helped
great.
me. I thought it was such a lovely experience for all of us. There were quite a few of us, weren't there, of the same ilk, I thought.
Well, do you know what? I've been at this a long time, and I have been lucky enough over my career of many moons to have done a lot of pantos all over the country, from Aberdeen to Hull and back again. And it's just a factor of life in our business that you will have personality clashes. There will be the odd ego
Yeah.
you come across, or members of the company that are slightly more highly strung than others, and that everyone then has to kind of navigate and negotiate while in the middle of a really, really busy panto run. And anyone that's asked me so far in 2025, I've told them how much of a wonderful time I had at Mansfield. Like, honestly, it's the most joyous panto I've done, if not in all my career ever. Like, it's just like we all got on so well. There wasn't any egos, there wasn't any problems. It was just an absolute joy. And what was brilliant about it was that everybody just got on with the job. We had a lot of shows to do. We had a lot of school shows. That it was quite a tough schedule, but there wasn't a show that any of us didn't enjoy. And that's not a lie. I'm not putting rose tinted specs on. It was just great. We all got on well, and it was all about cups of tea at the interval and what biscuits it was going to be, and just having fun and sharing the joy of panto. And it was just such a lovely company, from cast, crew, technical department. It was just the theatre staff. Honestly, I had an absolute blinding time, so much so that I'm desperate to come back. I'm going to Basingstoke this year, but I want to come back and hopefully join up with you and pantomime's worst comic, Adam Moss.
Oh, good old Mossy. Maureen Moss, as I call him, dear old Maureen. But what you said there, James, is fantastic. And, of course, there are going to be, different kinds of characters, different ilks of personality. But doesn't it make just for like a happier, easier experience when everyone just wants to come in, do a good job, and just be kind, just be nice people? Because sometimes in any walk of life, it's quite hard to find that sometimes, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it really is. And it can be difficult in our game as well. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you're forced into a situation very quickly where you have to get on with people, and you have to be cohesive and form a bond, because you're going to be sharing the stage for 66 shows, and you're basically going to be spending pretty much almost all your time with each other. You live
Yeah.
in panto land, you're in a panto bubble, and it's really important. And sometimes that's harder than it should be, and it just wasn't. And we had such a laugh, and because of that, it came across on stage, I think, and the audiences loved it. I mean,
Uh,
Adam, despite what he portrays on the podcast as being a lovely guy, no, he was. He was dead. He was dead sharing for someone who's been there for such a long
yeah.
time. He welcomed people like me and you with
Yeah,
with
oh,
open
massively.
arms, and was so so open. And it wasn't about, this is my theatre, this is my show. And I think that I'd like to think that that came across on stage because we had such a giggle.
What I admired about you was just your work ethic, and on days off you were driving home to Scotland because of your role as a dad and a caring, supportive husband, and I just admired that so much. But physically, that must have been quite tiring for you. But I guess as a father in the business, it's something you just have to do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you have to. It's just necessary.
Yeah.
It really does have to be done. Mansfield to my home was 4.5 hours drive. And so, yeah, I would do, we would do 12 shows in the week, and then
Yeah.
on a Sunday evening, I'd jump straight in the car and drive home to Scotland. And then I would get, well, the kids would be in bed by the time I got back. It'd be quite late at night. But yeah, and then I would get Monday with them. Well, I say I'd get Monday with them. Most of the time, I'd get help get them up and get them to school. And then my wife and I might have a little bit of time together, and then pick them up from school, give them dinner, and then get back in the car and drive down to Mansfield. But there's just no way on a panto run of that length of a, it's a It's an 8-week job. There's just no way that I can't get back. I mean, this year in Basingstoke coming up, it's going to be more difficult. Thankfully it's a shorter run, but I'm only going to get back for Christmas Day, and that's going to be tough.
And that's something that you learn as you go, don't you? It's an awful lot easier when you are young, free and single, touring, you're hopping on and off trains, going to different venues and touring the country. But, when you are older, life brings, it's commitments and duties, doesn't it? And it's tough to get that balance. Is it a help for you that your wife Helen is in the same position as well, that you can kind of balance your diaries so you're allowed that creative freedom still?
Yeah, I mean, we live by our joint phone calendar. It's a constant negotiation. Yeah, it does help, and also, yeah, I think, like I say, this is the job that we both love and we're both, half decent at, and you do have to negotiate and juggle to make it work. But we wouldn't have it any other way, because it's the best. When you're working, it's the best job in the world. I mean, it is more difficult. The older you get. There are more responsibilities, and if you're a parent on top of that, the excitement when you're in your 20s and your early career of not knowing what's around the corner, and the unknown it can be exciting, and that's brilliant. But when you have dependents and mortgage and bills and whatever, and you're in your late, so people who have real jobs by now have had many promotions and pay rises, and have probably won a gold watch and all that for over 25 years, and we don't know what's coming from one week to the next. But I mean, I'm lucky, Ben. Touch wood, I've had a great career, and I've had some really cool jobs. But my dad is an actor. He's still working now at 82, and so I grew up with it. So I knew that becoming an actor wasn't something that was gonna make me rich or famous. Like, if anything like that ever happened, it would be a beneficial bonus, a byproduct, so to speak. But I see my dad as kind of like my hero, like he was able to bring up a family doing the job he loves, such an uncertain job. And that was always my goal. Like, when I realized I wanted to become an actor, I was like, if I can do what my dad's done, be a working, jobbing actor who's able to pay their bills and support a family, but doing the job that they love, then that's my gold watch. Do you know what I mean? So I've been dead lucky, but also I know that I knew the realities of it. Like, so, if it was a bad year, the clothes would be hand-me-downs or charity shop, and we wouldn't go on holiday. If it was a better year, then we would get a holiday. So yeah, I think I've always been realistic about it, and so yeah, I think both my wife and I being in the business and doing that, it does. There is an understanding of the realism of it, but we do still have that ability to still be creative, which is.
And did you sense that life could have been tricky as an actor for your dad growing up, James? Like, did he have to say to you, look, if you do want to go into this line of work, these potentially could be the hurdles you're going to have to face? Or, like you said, you could sense, if their clothes became the hand-me-down clothes, could you sense that, it was, a tricky period for you as a family?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, you knew, you knew that there was ups and downs, and the older I got, the more obviously I understood about the precarious nature of the business. But I also watched my dad and knew how good he was, and also how much enjoyment he had from it. And also with his fight to become an actor when he was young. He was from the generation where it was thought of as not a proper job, and he left school and wanted to go to drama school and was told to go and get a proper degree, and so he was sent off to university, and I think he scraped a really bad law degree, and then kind of basically said to his parents, right, I've done that, now can I go and do what I want to do? And so when it came to me following in his footsteps, he really wouldn't have a leg to stand on if he told me to go and get a real job. So he was always incredibly encouraging. Both him and my mum were incredibly encouraging, and they never tried to put me off, but they never swayed me either.
Yeah.
It was my choice, and I was able to make those decisions based on what I'd seen and watched of growing up.
And just from what you're saying there, James, like a huge admiration for your dad, doing what he loved that would make him happy, at the same time being a brilliant dad, and being able to bring up a family so well. And I just think, what a cool dad. I've met him backstage after a show, and he's one cool dad, and I've no doubt that your children think the same. My God, their dad is Raven. How great is that?
Well, the really strange thing I probably bored you with when we were over a cup of tea and a biscuit in the middle of Panto Run was, so my dad's first big TV break when he was a young actor was a children's television series back in the 70s for Thames Television called Taro Ace of Wands, and he was Taro, he was the lead. And you know, it was a very fashionable, it was a really cool show. It was like one of the first kind of British kids shows to have like up-to-date fashion, and dad drove sports cars and rode cool motorbikes, and it was wicked. At one point in pre-production, they were talking about calling his show Raven, which is quite
Ooh,
spooky.
hello. Yeah, that's crazy. You mentioned Raven there, James. Was that a fantastic experience? Like as its popularity grew, I mean, 15 seasons, loved worldwide, and could you sense its audience growing the more seasons you went through? Like, was there a lovely swell of my God, this is a big hit? And how did that make you feel from a young jobbing actor to this kind of exposure?
Well, it was my first job out of drama school,
Oh,
so, which was pretty mind blowing. The first series of anything's always a gamble.
yeah.
So we thought it was good, but we didn't know. And then when it got recommissioned for a second series, and there was quite a big change in the visuals and stuff from the first to the second series. You know, I was given a much stronger look. I was like a poor man's Legolas or something. It was much more of a. It was much, or maybe not Legolas, maybe Legless. I don't know. But I was given much more of a kind of Lord of the Rings esque look, and it was a bit butcher, and so yeah, kind of from then on, we started to kind of think, hang on a minute, this seems to be gaining some traction, and it just rolled like a snowball, and before we knew it, we were moving from filming one series a year to filming two series back to back, to then also filming spin-offs at the same time. It was
God.
bonkers, yeah. And then, you know, at one point we got to go, the year I got married, we also, just before I got married, I spent 10 weeks in India filming a series of Raven in India. So
Wow.
I did 10 weeks in India filming Raven the Secret Temple, and it was just, yeah, I mean, that for me is it's an incredibly special job, one that I will always cherish in my heart, and it's been a massive part of my life, and it's still bizarrely a massive part of my life now. You know, those youngsters that grew up watching it, or you know, are now in their kind of 20s and 30s, having children of their own, who are now watching me in CBeebies shows like Molly and Mack, or the Pantos or the Shakespeare or whatever, and kind of going, oh my God, Mummy and Daddy used to watch him when they were young, which of course makes me feel really good. I'm not ancient at all, but it's just really cool. It's kind of, yeah, and yeah, Raven kind of garnering this kind of cult status. And then it gets these kind of mad social media flurries, you know, when Traitors comes on, you know, people kind of go, oh,
Yeah.
that's not Traitors is just Raven for adults, or RuPaul's Drag Race comes on, I get a flurry as well because there's an American drag artist called Raven. And so whenever she appears on RuPaul's Drag Race in Britain in social media, people just post loads of pictures of me going, "That's not Raven. This is Raven." And so just it just keeps going. It was a very special job, and yeah, and now the BBC have put two series of it back on the iPlayer. I don't know, maybe because of that kind of social media swell. I don't know, but
Yeah.
there's a whole new generation watching it, which is so cool. And my son now, you know, like on a Saturday night, our go-to is, and this has nothing to do with me, is to watch Gladiators, and then he wants to watch Raven because he's kind of, and he discovered it, and he's like, "Daddy, if they ever bring back Raven, do you think I can go on it?" Which is just that's awesome. I mean, but that's an amazing byproduct of my
Yeah.
career that I've spent a long time in and out of children's television. I've been lucky to do loads of other stuff, but children's TV keeps coming back to me, you know, and I did Raven for a long time. Then I did Molly and Mack for 5 years. You know, we did like 101 episodes of that, and because of that, I've been able to be part of the CBeebies Pantos and the Shakespeare at the Globe and things, and it's brought so many opportunities. But most importantly, my kids have been part of that journey, which has just been an absolute delight. Although last year when we did the CBeebies panto, they couldn't have cared less. It was the first time it was local. We filmed it in Edinburgh, so I was able to be at home, and they were able to come and see it being filmed live in the Festival Theatre in Edinburgh. I was so excited. You know, my kids were finally going to get to see me live in the CBeebies panto, and they couldn't have given a flying flip. So we had a cameo in the show by one of the gladiators, Steele, Zach George, And so my son was over the moon about meeting Zach, and my daughter's mind was blown by meeting Mr. Tumble. And so neither of them cared that Daddy was in the CBeebies panel. All they ever talk about is the fact that they met Steel the Gladiator and Mr. Tumble.
Oh, I love it. And the importance of
That showbiz.
quality TV for children, that can't be underestimated, can it? You know, Raven, Molly and Mack, CBBC, really quality productions. They've just won the BAFTA, haven't they, for As You Like It, at the Globe for Best Children's Scripted. But you must feel very proud of being part of such quality TV aimed for children, and its importance to children growing up, it can't be underestimated. We often talk about the importance of a child's first experience of pantomime, of live theatre, but likewise, I think if TV is quality, like the productions you've been in, it can really impress a young viewer, can't it?
Absolutely. And I think it's vital and so important in what you say about children's television. Obviously, I'm biased because I've been a big part of it, but I've seen it from the inside and the out. And I have so many parents that talk to me about how there are so many different platforms in which children can access content now.
Yeah.
What I love is, and I'm not just biased, but what I love is that so many parents come to me and say that CBeebies is the third parent in their household, because they know that they can stick that on and there's not algorithms, there's not adverts, there's not anything. They know that they can get the washing done, they can cook the dinner, they can leave their kid for half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever's necessary in front of CBeebies, and they know they'll be safe. But most importantly, they know that they'll their imagination will be triggered, they will have fun, they will be educated, they will laugh. Having a toe dipped in that and being a little bit part of that is something really special. I mean, we've just filmed a new musical for CBeebies. I've just finished that this weekend gone. That's going to be coming out in the cinemas over the whole summer. And it's an absolute extravaganza and a feast for the eyes and the ears. And it's, it's just lovely to know that kids are going to be kind of blown away by that and their imaginations are going to be fed. And yeah, it's a really special thing.
And what I loved as well, James, there'd be fans waiting for you after the pantomime, fans of Raven, and they're so excited to see you. You've made a difference to people's lives, and you continue to do that. And, when you meet fans at Comic-Con, say, around the country, it must be so rewarding to think, you know what, I've really made an impression on people's lives. That must be such a nice feeling.
Yeah. It is amazing, and it's really humbling, like they kind of fanboy and girl over me and over the show, and that must mean that it was good enough to have had an impression on them, and the show itself and what I did within it has had that kind of lasting impression, and that's really cool, and it's something that should never be taken for granted or kind of not given the weight and thought that it deserves. Because when I do Comic-Cons and those kind of appearances, I end up meeting people from shows that I grew up with, and it's impossible not to fanboy when you meet. Like I've been lucky enough to meet most of the cast of Red Dwarf, and that was a massive show when I was a kid, and just sitting in a green room chilling, having a kind of off the cuff conversation with Chris Barry, and inside I am screaming. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got Hattie Hayridge, the computer from Red Dwarf, on my phone, and I'm just like, what's that? It's just so cool. So as a jobbing actor, I cut my teeth, so to speak, in theatre. And then in my late teens, before I went to drama school, I was doing theatre shows, I was doing tours, out the back of a transit van around the Highlands of Scotland or whatever, or I was doing little bit parts in telly and stuff. And so I was really lucky. I started professionally before I went to drama school. But I always loved doing theatre, and I've been lucky that over the years, because of Raven and stuff, I've been able to do that. But then, we would only film a series of Raven. A series of Raven would maybe take 6 weeks to film. If we did it back to back 2 series, it would maybe be about somewhere between 10 and 12 weeks, but over the summer. But I'd still have all the rest of the year to do pantomime or other bits of theatre and bits and bobs, whatever were popped up. So I've always been able to jump between whatever, because that's kind of how I started and how I learned. So yeah, I love it all. But yeah, theatre's where I cut my teeth. So, but yeah, I was very lucky in coming out of drama school and having that first gig be a television series in which I was playing the lead. That was awesome. That probably didn't rub some of my fellow drama students up the right way. I don't think I was too popular, but hey, that's life.
Yeah. What I really love that you mentioned, James, that when you first started as a jobbing actor, the little tours, the 3, 4, 5 of you in a minibus, which I've done, and at the time you're like, oh my god, is this it? But you know what, slowly looking back, I appreciate the graft that we all put in, but also the standards you learn, the etiquette you learn, the importance of teamwork that you learn, just these almost life qualities that you can carry on through life. And I'm actually really sure that you doing those jobs before your TV break make you the kind of chap you are today, and so good to work with, so diligent and so empathetic of everybody's personalities within a company.
Yeah, I think if any actors get the opportunity to do that kind of thing, then they should, because it's not just about cutting your teeth, but it's about learning about yourself. Like traveling around the Highlands or Islands in the back of a transit van, and you're doing get-ins and get-outs, and you're loading the set out the van, you're building it, you're helping put the lighting up, then you're getting your costume on, you're doing the show, and then you're doing it all in reverse and packing it down and shoving it in the back of a transit van, and then you're off to some amazing other village hall on the island of Egg or Mull or something. But I think it's really important, because it's about learning other aspects of your business. You're learning more about the technical side of it, and stage management, and what that's involved, so that you can appreciate how it all works to put on a show, and what it takes to get you on that stage and in front of that audience. And also it's just about, like you say, working as a team, and knowing that it's not just all about you, that you are just the sum of many, many parts. I was always, as a human being, my parents always taught me that kindness costs nothing and politeness is easy. So I always try and take that in life. But also, my dad would always remind me, in terms of work, and I think it's a saying that we all kind of know in our business, is that, be nice on the way up, because you never know who you're going to meet on the way down. And I've always found in life that it actually genuinely takes less energy and is easier to be kind and nice to people than it's to be difficult and nasty. And surely if we're all kinder and nicer to people, everyone's lives are going to be easier. And also, when you're working in a tight community like ours, especially when you're putting on a show, it's so much easier if everybody just gets on and has a nice time. You get things done quicker. You're more productive. You're more creative, rather than having a big black cloud hanging over you. So I think I try and I think it's important to take. I mean, don't get wrong. We all have our good days and bad days. We're all human, but I think it's important to. I've always tried to remember that that kindness and politeness cost nothing. Be nice on the way up, because you never know who you're going to meet on the way down. And our job fluctuates so much that you don't know what's around the corner and where you're going.
Yeah, and I think if you can keep that kind of plateau of being as well, James, it's so important, because like you say, the work can come and go, but I think if you're doing all you can to make yourself as happy as you can, as peaceful as you can between those highs and lows, between the jobs, then it does lead for a better life, doesn't it? And I'm amazed, same as you, I'm amazed when people seem to get a kick out of causing aggro in any environment. I'm just like, what is the point? What are you gaining? Aren't you just knackered? Aren't you just drained,
But physically and mentally, it's just must be exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how tired we are at being, just the excellent, perfect human beings that we are.
Hey, it exhausts me, James. But on a serious point, what I loved as well is that, fly the alcohol-free flag. What I loved when I mentioned it, a lot of people, they want to know why and query it. And, it almost puts me on the back foot sometimes, if I'm being honest, why I've made that decision. But with you, you're like, oh, that's great, that's cool. And I'm an old sod now, so after a show, I wouldn't want to go to the pub, not because I wouldn't have a pint, but I have my little boundaries in life. Like, I just like my peace and quiet after a show, and that's what gets me through. So just thank you for understanding that, and not everybody would, so I appreciate that.
No, not at all. I think it's like we all have things that we need to work through, or things that we need to think about to make our lives not bearable, but workable. Do you know what I mean? And well, I'm not ashamed to say that I can thank you now, because of working with you. I became a listener to the podcast, and I'm on a very early journey myself with alcohol free. I've tried to take on your mantle. I've flirted with running over the last 5 years. In COVID, I think in COVID, people either embraced their elasticated waistband, or they went the opposite way. And I kind of went mad for the running. As someone who could never run the length of themselves, I kind of gave it a go. And I totally fell in love with it. But then since having a second child, and who was, a COVID baby as well,
Yeah.
it's difficult to find the time. I couldn't, it wouldn't really go down well if I'd said to my wife, there's the two kids, there's the two dogs, look after the house, I'm away for a run by myself. So, and work, it's not a juggle. But anyway, I have recently put my running shoes back on, and for the last 4 weeks I have been alcohol free, and
Oh,
that's not because that's just a personal choice for me. I'm not that it matters either way, but it's not because I thought that I had a problem. I just think for me what had happened was it kind of became too much of a part of my weekends.
yeah.
I think also in life, but in our business as well, and that's not an excuse, that it's looked upon as a reward, but it's in life and our business, it's looked upon as a reward, as something you deserve. And in life, we as a lot of your previous guests have said, we go to it um, for commiserating, for congratulating,
Yeah.
for comfort, and yeah, I just found myself. I'd have a few beers on Friday, and then oh well, they've ran out, so I'll have a couple on the Saturday, and then the Grand Prix is on Sunday night. So I'll
Yeah.
have a couple of beers while I watch the Grand Prix on catch up, and then you're like, well, I've just done that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then you're just a bit foggy, you're just a bit grey, you're just a bit
Mm.
lethargic, all the usual stuff, and I just thought, I've been doing it on and off for a long time, and let's see what Ben's talking about. Let's give it a go.
Let's
No,
see
but
what
like
he's
seriously,
harping on
after
about.
after listening to the podcast and sticking on my trainers and whatever, and listening to all your wonderful previous guests and stuff, I'm just like, well, what would happen? What would happen if I gave that a go? Apologies if you can hear my dog barking in the background. I think maybe the postman's arrived. But uh, yeah, I just thought I'm going to give that a go and see what happens. And yeah, so far so good. I didn't want to set myself any big
Yeah.
boundaries or goals with it because I didn't want to fail, because we all hate to fail. So I just said, I'm going to give it a go. So I just said, I'm just going to have a drink on a special occasion, and we'll leave it at that. And then it was my birthday last week, and I was away working. I was working with CBeebies, and that might be an opportunity in a
Yeah.
hotel with friends and colleagues. And I didn't. I just had a couple of alcohol-free beers, and I woke up the next morning without any regret, without any worry about, oh God, did I make a fool of myself? Did I
Yeah.
say something silly, or did I, and that's not just because one gets tanked up. It's your inhibitions are loosened after one or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I think I'm probably still in the trenches because there is that thing of you're still thinking about it.
Yeah.
You're still thinking, oh, wouldn't it be nice, especially with the weather being as lovely. But I'm not missing it. I don't feel. Yeah, I'm enjoying the other side of it, the clearer head, yeah. And do you know what? Just an ever so slight smugness. And I
Yeah.
think that's okay to
Oh,
admit that. I think it's okay
James,
to admit
it
that.
is like for months and months, and I still do. I sometimes feel like, oh shit, I'm sometimes boring myself, like, oh, alcohol free, But it's like, it is, it's like, it's so hard to do in this society, especially in, the entertainment business. But like you say, it's a celebratory thing. It's like, but why does it have to be? Why can't we enjoy a zero beer to celebrate something?
Yeah.
And the improvement in me as a person, that's what I can't help. And, but I think, you know what? Why can't we celebrate doing something really bloody hard in our lives and feeling a lot better for it? And, you know, you're looking so well, and like just like what is great, you're not putting any pressure on it. And if you're feeling good, and what I love, James, it's that morning little glow I get of, oh, I've got a full day ahead. I can achieve so much more. I've got energy. I've slept better. My
Yeah.
eyes are brighter. I'm not grey Ben. And I think that's great that you just dipping your toe in and just see how you go.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I was working last week with the CBBS lot and stuff like that, and I did feel
Yeah.
more. And yeah, I've done, and recently I've done a couple of play readings and some development work for theatre, and I've genuinely felt more creative, more in control, less worried about stuff, less worried about
Yeah.
how I'm perceived, maybe. And maybe I think that's probably as a result of not of not having that kind of yeah, that just feeling better in my body, so
Yeah.
it makes me feel better in my head. Yeah, I think it's yeah, I'm just excited to see how it goes going forward. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sticking my running shoes on after this, and I'm going to go for a little plod, and then I've got the big shop to do, Ben, and then it's school pickup, and I've got swimming lessons for the kids later and stuff like that. So, but yeah, just I think I'm starting to feel better, and also it's helped as well because I've discovered as well as part of my old age that I've also got a bit of a food intolerance as well. So I'm working through that, and I think the not drinking as well is helping. So yeah,
I'm so excited for you about your start in the world of alcohol free, but also about you get to the big shop. I love a big shop.
love a big shop.
Oh,
So
James,
good.
I think that's fantastic, and you're looking so well. And what I love as well is, you have this really lovely balance that quite a few of my guests have, who are parents and proud parents, but doing what they love as well. I admire that so much, and the fact that you have got a lovely family, James, and a great anchor at home, that must be of huge comfort to you when you are navigating the world as an actor.
Totally, yeah. I mean, my wife is my best friend, and to have gone on such a fantastic journey together with your best friend,
Ah,
and have been so lucky to have two happy and healthy children. It's a real privilege, and also you know, having someone, yourself, having someone who understands the job. I mean, obviously, I'm not, we don't save lives. We're not at the coal
yeah,
face, but there are complications with our job. There are hardships with our job. There's a lot of mentally, it can be, we take rejection on a daily basis, like some kind of weird force feeding. Do you know what I mean? Like and that can only over time have an effect on people, and so to be able to juggle that with someone who understands that, also who understands the risky side of our business in
yeah.
terms of not knowing what's around the corner, if someone understands that, then yeah, then that's half the battle. I mean, it doesn't there are times where I'm sure that both my wife and I wish the other half had a more sensible job and regular job that had a safe income and
Yes.
maybe a pension
Yeah.
or something. But
What's a pension?
I
My
have no
goodness.
idea. It's what real people do then. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think so.
But yeah, it's a real privilege. We know how lucky we are that we've still been. She's been. I think she's what 20 plus years in doing this now, and I'm 30 years now, and so to still be doing this job, putting on silly costumes, silly voices, silly walks, and actually that's what you do for a job. It's an absolute privilege and pleasure, and it's the best job in the world. It's just, isn't it? I mean, it's just the best job in the world.
It's joyous. Let's never stop doing our
Mm.
silly voices and silly walks. James Mackenzie, it's been so lovely to spend the morning with you, just to sit down again and have a lovely chat about your career, about life, and about being a dad as well. It's just lovely. So, James, thank you so much for joining me in Benji's Cafe podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute delight, and it's always weird having to talk about oneself, but you've made it very relaxing, and thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed my coffee, so thank you.
Thanks for listening to the wonderful James Mackenzie. Don't forget, a fresh new episode of Benji's Cafe podcast drops every Tuesday. Just find us wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a follow so every episode gets sent straight to your phone. Tell your friends, tell your family, and if you can, please leave a review. Joining me next week in Benji's Cafe is the actor and head judge on TV's Brilliante Malta, Charles Brunton. Can't wait. I'll get the kettle on. Have a great day.